This is the single coil version of the Oxva Arbiter 28mm dual coil RTA. That's most probably why it's known as the Solo then. Doesn't really take a genius to figure that one out, does it? The Arbiter Solo RTA is capable of either a mouth-to-lung vape or a restrictive direct lung vape. The adjustments for either are top mounted just under the removable drip tip. When looking on the inside of the barrel, we can see plenty of doming, and this will assist with the flavour concentration. It's also how the adjustable airflow slides the barrel round to block the restrictive lung option. The deck incorporates two wider airflow ports for the restrictive lung vape, hitting the coil side on, while a single pinhole hits the coil from underneath while using the mouth to lung option. You'll need to use the included tool to loosen the grub screws. Position the legs under the clamps. Tighten the grub screws down and snip the legs as close to the sides as possible. Make sure the coil is central to the deck above the single mouth-to-lung airflow port and at a height that the restrictive airflow can hit the sides of the coil. Next, dry burn and rake the coil of any hot spots. Also keep an eye on the resistance, making sure there are no fluctuations. Good word! Pass the included cotton aglets through the coil ensuring a firm but not tight fit. Rake and trim to size. Pour e-liquid onto the coil and the cotton and test fire, checking again for any changes in resistance. They need to remain constant. Then screw the deck back into the tank and away you go. So I tested the Oxva Arbiter Solo using the Dovpo Odin Mini 75C. The initial test was carried out with the restrictive direct lung setting wide open, and I discovered straight away that using the included 0.8 ohm coil is not suited to my tastes. It's very much aimed at the mouth to lung style of vaping, with much lower wattage than I was using. So to this end I reduced power to a much more realistic 23.5 watts. And with a restrictive direct lung vape, this really knocked the flavour completely out of it. Not very impressive at all. So the next thing to try were a few of the mouth to lung settings. and remembering to first adjust the ring on the top cap so that it's facing in the direction of the mouth to lung setting. Using the widest single airflow slot, I did indeed get quite a satisfactory mouth to lung vape. The flavour quality wasn't bad at all, so then I took it to the farthest end of the spectrum and used the smallest pinhole. I took my first drag and the results were, well, they spoke for themselves. Oh. Too tight. I eventually found the best airflow setting for mouth to lung to be that of the third pinhole, the third largest or the third smallest, depending on your own point of view and how you perceive size. That's what the wife says. So what do I think of the Oxva Arbiter Solo RTA in general? Well, I didn't personally make the purchase under the assumption that it was going to be used as a mouth to lung device anyway, because I'm a big fan of restrictive direct lung vapes. But there is something important to remember. There's a big difference between a semi-restrictive vape and a restrictive direct lung vape. This RTA has been designed to obviously restrict that airflow a little bit further, so if you're into semi-restrictive vaping, there might not be quite enough airflow to suit your tastes. My biggest bugbear came from remembering to switch the settings between mouth to lung and restrictive lung on the top cap. It's also very easy to loosen the top cap when doing so because they're so close together. But one of the biggest pluses is having top airflow. This obviously significantly reduces the chances of the tank leaking. So for an RTA that attempts to offer both bloody phone. So for an RTA that attempts to offer both mouth to lung and restrictive vape styles, I'd say the Oxva Arbiter Solo manages to pull it off.